Good morning. It is day 2. Let's go. I see we already have a few people in here and everybody seems like they're ready to go. I can tell we're already streaming good. Everything looks good from my end. So I'm ready to go today. Today's day 2. I know we've got some people, looks like from Arizona. Drop in the comments. Let me know where you're from. Let me know you're here and you can hear me all right. Everything looks good on my end, but you never know. We might not have sound on your end. So let me know. I like interaction, just so you guys know. I give you more and I will go deeper the more you guys interact. And of course, just like yesterday, I am streaming live from StreamYard into the Facebook group. So right above this video, you'll see something that says allow StreamYard access to your comments. If you do that, it lets me see who you are inside of where I'm streaming from. I can see your comments, but I can't see who you are unless you allow StreamYard access to your comments. So click that button and let them do that. Did you guys get your homework done? Homework from yesterday. You had things to get done. Did you do it? Did you consume and then instantly create? I know a lot of you have W-2 jobs and everything, so I'm going to give you through the rest of the week. But just a reminder, you guys will have access to the replays inside the Facebook group all the way through Sunday evening. Monday morning, we remove the replays from the group, except for VIP access holders. They'll actually get the recordings and everything. So, had it done from the last challenge. Nice. Tennessee, Arizona's in the house. Good morning. Thanks for coming back and joining me again. So yesterday, I'm going to quick recap yesterday, and then we're going to jump straight into today. Yesterday, we talked about becoming a creator versus a consumer, right? Somebody who doesn't just go to YouTube or Facebook just to watch stuff to stay busy, but somebody who intentionally goes to those places to intentionally learn something very specific for what you're doing. And you set the amount of time that you're going to allow for it. Like, I'm going to take 1 hour to learn about this and this and this. And then I'm going to take what I learned and I'm going to apply it and implement it and then become a creator. Now, a creator doesn't mean that you're making YouTube videos or hosting your own 5-day challenge. You don't have to do that stuff, right? But a creator also is creating a schedule around their life. You're time blocking. You're creating a way of operating in the world instead of just reacting to whatever's thrown at you. Okay, so just to reiterate what a creator is, it's somebody who's actually creating their life, who's actually in control of what's going on instead of just reacting. Okay, so it could be creating a schedule. It can be doing the time blocking exercise and laying it out and creating the habits that actually follow it. That way you start having time with your family like you want to. And that family is better time because you're not worried about missing other stuff because you've created a process for dealing with your work stuff at work time, family at family time, XYZ. Okay. So creators create everything in life. It's not just content and social media stuff. Okay. So I want you to keep that in mind, like in everything you're doing. What you are doing right now inside the challenge is you are learning so that you can create something. You're trying to create a wholesale business that costs you no money and puts money in your pocket, right? That's the idea. That's what we're trying to learn this week. And it all starts with your mindset and dialing in who you are, what you're doing, and how you're doing it, who you're doing it for. So make sure that you are posting it in the comments, your homework and stuff, right? So if you decided yesterday what it is that you do and who you do it for, and you got your elevator pitch, put it on that post or put it in the comments of this post because you are inspiring each other to push harder. I guarantee you there are people watching this or that will watch the replays that need to see someone else is doing it. And if they see somebody else is doing it, then they're like, oh, okay, I can do it too. It's not that big a deal. Okay. So don't just let me teach everybody. Don't just let me inspire and encourage and push people to do something. Be part of that. If you're in my world, most likely you enjoy helping people too. So help me help them by sharing your experiences and what you got going on. So creator versus consumer. We always are going to consume, but now you're going to consume with purpose for a specific thing. And then remember, you're not a real estate investor. You're a flipper, or you help investors find their next flip or whatever it is, right? You have to get very specific, very clear. So if you've done that, then today is going to build on yesterday. And today is super important. We're going to talk about how you talk to people. Okay. I see so many investors and so many new people that struggle with a lot of things that can be solved by simple conversation tweaks and simple the way we pitch things. Okay. Because if you feel like you're pitching, if you feel like you're selling, if you feel like you don't really have any money, so how do you say I'm a cash buyer? If you say, if you feel like you don't have anything to bring to the table, then you're talking like that. And people are seeing that. Okay. So, first off, we have to know who we are. So, like I said, if I say I help flippers find their next flip, it's very specific, right? I'm obviously a wholesaler. So now that's going to change the conversations I'm going to have in a day because I'm looking for properties that I can get at a discount to wholesale off to my cash buyers, the flippers, right? So if we know very specifically that's what we're doing, then that allows us to know exactly who we need to talk to, right? If you're doing it traditionally, the way all the gurus are teaching you, going direct to seller and making a bunch of cold calls and everything else, and then building your buyers list, you're basically talking to sellers and you're talking to cash buyers. And then some of you are probably talking to private money because you're trying to line up private money. So these are, I'm going to show you today, I'm going to give you like techniques and how this works to where you can actually know how to present those conversations in a way that's beneficial to everybody. Because if you learn to put yourself in the mind of the people who you're talking to and solve their problems for them before they even have a chance to ask, then that is going to make them want to do business with you. Or it's going to make them want to be around you if you're trying to get a better circle of friends and influence people, right? In order to do that, we have to think, what do they want? How do we help them get what they want? How do we say it in a way that makes them feel like we're the person that can help solve their problem, right? And this is important because all of us know this, right? Everybody's talked to somebody that you were just like 5 seconds in, you're just like, man, I don't like this person. And it's not that the person typically is a bad person. It's usually the way they're talking. And then the way that they're acting or moving backs up and supports the way they're talking, right? And so and a lot of times we don't like the person that's all about themselves, right? So if you want to get people to do what you want them to do, one, we have to know who we're talking to, and that builds on yesterday. And then two, we have to go through and find like, what is their problems? What are their struggles? What are their hopes and dreams? And so I'm going to jump right into an example like with sellers. If we are in an example talking to sellers and you're trying to get a homeowner to sell you their property at a discount, most gurus are like, tell them you can pay cash, you can close fast, and boom. And if you don't take my offer, then I'm going to go offer it to your neighbors and I'm going to try and buy their house. Now, if we put ourselves into the mind of the seller, though, and we think, what is this person like? What are their problems and struggles? What do they have going on in their lives right now? Why do they want to sell it, right? But why do they want to sell it in depth? Because let's think about it. Depending on what year you were born, most people were brought up thinking the American dream is get a good job, get married, have kids, get your own little chunk of land, right? Own a home. It's like a big part of the American dream. The American dream is shifting now, right? To where people don't want to own so much. They're wanting to stay renting and staying freer. But a lot of the people who are going to be in that motivated seller category, if you're talking direct to sellers, are people who have spent a lot of their lives thinking that owning a home was success, that they were successful if they owned their own home, if they had a little chunk of land, and if they had a good job and their family was doing well. This is what most people think life is all about. And so when you walk in going, hey, your house is only worth half what you think it is, and I'll give it to you, but I can give it to you in 7 days and I can close fast, then people are just thinking this person doesn't care about me. They're just wanting to make me an offer on my house. And it's all just numbers. And now you and the other 80 investors that called that person are telling the seller the exact same thing. Hey, I can buy your house for cash, close fast. And they're like, I don't care what you can do. I don't like you. Like, that's the truth of what most sellers are thinking when most investors call them. They're thinking, I don't care. I don't know you. I don't trust you. I don't even like the way you're talking to me right now. And they feel like they're being spammed. They feel like they're being scammed. And the last thing they want to do is give up their biggest part of their American dream, their most expensive part of their American dream, to somebody they just met that doesn't seem to care about them. Okay. And this is killing your deals. This is keeping you from getting deals. Now, I'm going to show you kind of how we can twist that and talk to that person. But now let's do the exact same thing with, say, buyers, cash buyers. You're trying to build your buyers list by essentially we're spamming people left and right, right? We're not trying to get to know anybody. We're just taking their information and we're just writing it down and then sticking them on our list and starting to sell properties to them. And then I talk to so many investors and wholesalers and people getting started that are like, well, what if my buyer goes around me? What if my buyer does this? And you know why they would do that is because they don't know, like, and trust you. The only time you send them anything is when you're trying to sell them something, a property. So then it just comes down to price, just like a seller. How do I sell it to whoever's going to give me the most money? A buyer's thinking, I'll buy it from whoever gives it to me cheapest. But did you know that people don't buy just because of price? They buy on emotions. Most people buy and spend any money on emotion. It's the way we feel about what we're looking at, right? People buy all sorts of things, right? You look at these millions and millions of dollars worth of yachts, right? The yacht that's worth 5 million, 10 million, $100 million. Who needs a $100 million yacht? It's the way it makes them feel. So they're willing to just drop money on it just to float around in the water, right? It's the way it makes them feel. It's the way it makes them look to other people. They love that feeling. So how do we talk to people and appeal to their emotions? How do we talk to them and appeal to their know, like, and trust factor, right? I'm talking to you guys a certain way, and I'm giving you guys information for free that I know is stuff you struggle with. So pay attention, because remember, I pull back the curtain so that you can see what I'm doing. I show you exactly what I'm doing so that you can now go and use it, okay? The people who are in here, my audience that I'm trying to help is first-year wholesalers or wholesalers that are just struggling to get started. You're either struggling to get started or you've done a few deals and your consistency is way off. It's not working for you. It's not picking up. It's not building because you're not building a real business. You're actually just hustling from one deal to the next. And so I have spent 3.5 years talking to wholesalers. What's the problems? What's the struggles? And then this challenge comes out of what are all those problems and struggles that everybody's having consistently? And I can plug them in here and create something that speaks to those problems, right? It speaks directly to the pain points. You don't have, excuse me, you don't have hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in your bank to just go cash buy stuff. You're wondering if you're doing it right. Doing it right. Excuse me. You're wondering if you're doing it right. You're wondering, like, there's all this information out there. Which one's right? Where do I start? What do I do? And I know that stuff is going through your head. And because I know it's going through your head, I don't need to ask you if you're thinking about it. I don't need to ask you if you've ever watched too many YouTube videos and got confused or overwhelmed with the amount of information out there and weren't sure where to start. I don't need to ask you because I already know, because I've spent 3.5 years talking to people. So if I've spent 3.5 years talking to people and everybody's saying that they struggle on, there's so much information, I don't know where to start, then I can speak to that now. And I can say, okay, this is how you start. Here's exactly what I would do. Boom, 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 boom. And now you don't feel like you're being sold because I'm not selling, right? And now you don't feel like I'm a scammer or I'm a spammer because I gave you a very clear path of what to do. I didn't try to like bait you in with something and then switch it up and then do something else, right? You're going to get what I told you you're going to get during this 5-day challenge. And so that builds a know, like, and trust because I'm speaking to exactly what you're struggling with and then showing you how to overcome it for free. And now we're bonding, right? And what will happen is if we continue to bond and we continue to grow our relationship of knowing each other and liking each other and trusting each other, then if I had something to sell and someone else had something to sell, you'd want to buy it from me over them because you trust me, right? Like that's what we're doing. We're creating trust with each other. That's why I give it away for free, is so that you know that I mean what I say. And if you want to go and do it by yourself, great. Here's how you do it. Good luck. I know it's going to take you time, but you can do it. It's the exact same thing now if we're talking to sellers, if we're talking to cash buyers, if we're talking to private lenders trying to get money to invest in our deals. What would a private money lender be thinking in their head? Here's what most of you do, and most of you think you have to do when you get started. We think, I need to go ask somebody if they'll loan me money. And nobody likes to beg for a loan, right? Nobody likes to ask somebody if they can borrow money. Nobody likes to beg. And a lot of us in our mind, if we think, how do I ask a private lender for money? We're instantly thinking we're going to have to ask for a loan, a handout, beg for something. What if you switch the mindset from, instead of thinking about yourself and being embarrassed to ask for money because you're not sure if you trust you, so why would they? What if you put yourself in their mind? Why would a private lender give you money? And I'll give you a simple switch of the way we look at that. But first, I want you to think about it. Why would a private lender, why would a person with money in their bank loan it on one of your deals? Because if you think about that, what would make it appealing to them? Then we can change the way we talk to them. And we can speak to their problems. We can speak to their goals and their ambitions, right? Okay, so now let's go into some of this because this will work with realtors. This will work with your kids. It'll work with everything. It doesn't matter who you're talking to. If you learn to put yourself into their mind and say, what are they really struggling with? What are they not liking about this situation? Not what do I not like? What do I think they don't like? What do they actually not like about it? What are they trying to accomplish? Not what do I think they need to accomplish? Not what do I think they should accomplish? Not what I think they should do or shouldn't do, but what do they think they should do or shouldn't do? If we can start switching our mind and doing that with everybody, then this will be a lot easier. You'll start to build the right relationships and you'll start to get more deals done, no matter what direction you're going from. Now, remember, I am telling you going straight wholesale and assignment. Remember yesterday, I said, I'm going to teach you stuff that will work for whatever you're doing because this challenge is still a little bit like, I know some of you want to flip. I know some of you are wholesaling. So I'm going to give you the concepts that'll work across the board. But I'm going to tell you, like, you need to go fastest way to money is going to be wholesale and assignment and going and partnering and working with other people. So today's going to be huge for creating those good partnerships. Okay. For learning how to structure this relationally, because that is your fastest way to money without having to spend money. Okay. There are investors, the gurus that you're seeing, they're all doing over $250,000 a year just on JVs where they're partnering with other people. There's a reason on Wholesale Hotline, you see 3 real estate gurus side by side as friends, helping each other out and providing value to everybody who's trying to get in real estate. They're not worried about the person next to them being their competitor, right? They're coming together and they're providing value to the real estate world, and they're all selling their stuff and they're all making money, and they're making money with each other. So this comes down to the mindset again, right? Of who are we trying to do business with and what are they looking for? The reason you see gurus come together instead of bashing heads and like being like this one's over here and this one's over here, and you'll never see them together because they're selling their own stuff and they don't want to compete with each other. The reason you'll see them coming together is because there's power in numbers. You'll make more money together with people than you will on your own trying to protect everything yourself and trying to just stay away from everybody and make a quick buck. It's a good way to get out of business, basically. Okay. So we need to shift our mindset. How do we put ourselves into the mind of the person we're talking to, whoever it is? So let's start off and let's just go through some of the people is what I want to do, because all of the people, the key players in any real estate transaction are going to be a seller, a buyer, a private lender. For the most part, those are the key components of any deal, right? No deal goes without somebody to sell it and somebody to buy it, period. And no deal goes without money in there somewhere. And it's rarely the person's money who is like lining everything up from our point of view. Okay. So if we're talking to a seller and you're going direct to seller saying, hey, I can pay cash and I can close quick, and here's my offer, isn't going to get you very far. But what if you start spending a little time and you look at this person as somebody who has spent most of their life trying to get the American dream and have their own chunk of land? And if that's the case, and they need to, because we're targeting motivated sellers, right? You're trying to find people that have a reason, divorce, bankruptcy, foreclosure, like they're going through something. Now, as an investor who's been doing it for a while, you start to think, oh, they're going through divorce, or they're going through, this is a short sale, or they're going into bankruptcy, foreclosure. I deal with these all the time. It's no problem. I know how to do it. But you need to remember that for that person, it's like life altering. Like for somebody going through a divorce, like this is a lot. Their whole life's changing. They're trying to figure out who gets the kids for the weekends. They're trying to figure out how it fell apart. They're trying to figure out what's going on. Why are we getting divorced? Or they're so lit and so mad at the other person that they just want everything to be done and they want to screw over the other person. Like there's like, what is their situation? And what are their emotions behind it? Now, I literally just saw a post from somebody who's been in this boot camp like a year ago. And so I follow some of their stuff, but I saw these back and forth with the seller. And basically, from what I understand, just from the comments, there was the wife needed to sign the papers so that the investors could get the house under contract from her husband. And they were going through a divorce. And the wife had like blocked the investors, didn't want to sign it, didn't want to let the husband sell the property or anything. And so finally, the investor reached out to her and was able to get a message through to her. She didn't completely like just delete it really quick. She read the message. But from what I saw, he says, hey, we're on your side. We're not on your husband's side. And just so you know, he's not making a dime off of selling us this property. He's actually losing money to sell it to us, and it works for us and it gets rid of it for him. We're not trying to help him make money and cut you out. We're basically on your team, and he's losing money if you sign the papers and allow him to sell it to us. And like they were very like aggressive in that message to her because they could tell the way she was blocking them and refusing to sign the papers that she was being vindictive and just didn't want her husband to get it sold. She didn't want her husband to win because they were getting divorced. Their life was falling apart. She was pissed off. And so they took her side. I'm not saying I would like just do exactly the way they did it, but they took her side and told her like, hey, he's not making any money on this deal, because they knew that in her mind, she was thinking, I'm not going to help him sell that house. I'm going to make him sit on that house and lose money in that house. And if they were able to convince her that he was going to lose money selling it to them, then she might be okay with it. And she ended up okay with it and sold in the house. She was mad through the entire thing, from what I understand, but they got the house under contract. Now, if we have somebody who's going through bankruptcy and they've lost their job because of all the craziness that's been going on, and they've been struggling to pay the bills and struggling to get by, that's a place of shame for a lot of people, right? The fact that we can't pay our bills. Most people are inherently like they want to do what they say they would do. Most people aren't trying to just screw each other over. Most people, I believe, are actually trying to do good and they just don't know how. And so most people, if they said, "Hey, I'll buy this house and I can afford this house," and then they lose their job and they're unable to find work and they're unable to get money in to pay their bills, they're embarrassed. They're ashamed. They've been working their butt off and it's not working. They're frustrated. And now this biggest part of their American dream, they're about to lose. And you have to learn to appeal to that, not just talk about the numbers. You have to be able to look at the deal from just the numbers. Does this make sense? Is it good or not? But then you need to be able to take that in your mind, run your numbers, your offer. But then when you're talking to the seller, it needs to be all, hey, how did you guys lose your job? If you don't mind my asking, like, has it been a struggle for you trying to provide and trying to do stuff? Like, why do you need to get rid of the house right now? Like, because I understand life is hard and I understand, like, oh, I lost my job in the past too. And like, I completely get it. I was worried that my family wasn't going to have a place to stay. Like, what if, are you guys okay? Like, what if you talk to somebody like that instead of just going straight to the deal and straight to the house and straight to, this is what I can give you for your house. And if you don't take advantage of my offer today, I'm going to go offer it to somebody else. I hate it when investors do that, if you can't tell. Because basically, like, you're trying to force a seller to make a decision to sell at a discount to you by leveraging the fact that you're going to go and they're going to miss out the opportunity to give it to you at a discount by buying their neighbor's house. You will get a lot farther by putting yourself in that seller's shoes and saying, hey, what do you really need? Like, what are your concerns here? I realize it's our first conversation. And, have you had a lot of investors calling you? Have you had people spamming you and stuff like that? Like, what have you had to deal with already? Have you thought about listing with a realtor? Why don't you like that idea? Like, talk to them and figure out what it is they don't like about their options. Then you're able to speak to them. And then when you're saying stuff like, I can pay cash and close quick, it's more like, hey, if we come to a number that works for you, I just want you to know that if you need us to move quick and be able to close on it fast for you in like a certain amount of time, we can make that happen. But at the same time, like, if you need a little time to find the next place and figure out where you're going, we can help you with that as well. And we can just work this to where as long as the numbers work for you and they work for us, we can give you the time to find someplace else. And we might even be able to help you move on to that next place. Think about the way that offer would strike a seller as opposed to, hey, I can give you cash in 7 days. And they're thinking, holy crap, that gives me 7 days to find a place for my family to move. Have you ever thought about that? If somebody's distressed and they're losing their house and they have a family, and you say, I can pay cash and close in 7 days, they might be thinking, holy crap, I have nowhere to go. I can't sell this in 7 days. And as an investor watching YouTube videos, you're like, oh, well, it's a benefit to people to be able to close in 7 days. Some people who are facing like foreclosure and the bank's like, you got 1 week or we're going to close and take your property and you're out. Then yeah, to them, speed is of the essence, right? But maybe when you say that, you're triggering the seller to think, holy crap, where am I going to go in 7 days? Some people love the idea. Some people may be on a time frame, but you won't know unless you start putting yourself into their mind, into their situation. Okay. Are you starting to see what I'm saying here? How if you put yourself into their shoes, it might completely change the way that you talk to them. Put it in the comments if any of this is making sense to you. Even if you're watching on the replay, it's cool. Put it in the comments. Let me hear what it is that's going on in your mind so that I can better speak to you during this training. So that's an example, right, of talking to a seller. And there's multiple, not experiences, things that people have went through There's multiple times stories of people going through this where the seller just had a family member living in it and they didn't want to evict them, so they wouldn't sell it. The people that were selling needed to move and they needed $2,500 for the moving truck. And if you say, hey, if we can get a contract signed to where we're in agreement on a number that works, how about I pay for the moving company to get you moved so that you can go ahead and get started and you can get moving and we can help you out. You create an actual win-win. Okay. Now let's shift this a little bit and let's take a different person. Okay. Let's talk about this private money, because the private money is a big one for a lot of us, right? The seller may be going through some stuff and feel ashamed and disappointed because they're losing their American dream. But now what about us as the investor who's brand new and you're out there watching YouTube videos and they're saying, just tell people you're a cash buyer and make them an offer and then get it under contract. Now, I know that in your head, when somebody says, tell them you're a cash buyer and get the deal under contract, a lot of us at the beginning think, but I'm not a cash buyer. I don't have any money. And the honesty factor comes out, right? And we're like, well, I don't want to lie to people. And we have to get over this in our head, right? And that comes from us thinking that about ourselves. So since I know you're thinking that about yourself, I know you're thinking, well, I don't want to say I'm a cash buyer if I'm not. I struggle with that because I feel like I'm lying to people. Then I can speak to that for you right now. I can say, okay, well, let's reframe this. Instead of going to a private lender and saying, hey, I got started in real estate and I'm looking for some people that have some money that would be willing to loan so that I can buy this house and flip it. Could you help me with that? Or would you have money to do that? Or would you want to partner with me on it and like you fund the deal and I flip it? And it's kind of this begging game, right? It's kind of I'm not sure what I'm doing, but I think you might have money and I could use that money. And inside you're like, I'm not even sure what I'd do with that money other than just buy it. The other person, the private lender with the money, they're feeling what you're thinking. So when you're talking to them that way, they're thinking, this person's not confident. This person doesn't know what they're going to do with my money. This person's probably going to lose my money. Or they're thinking that you're in a bad spot and they are feeling like they would want to help you out to be a nice person, right? Which makes you feel like a person who's struggling and needs a handout. And so you don't really feel good about it. They don't really feel good about it, but it kind of feels like they're trying to help you out and get started in real estate. Now let's completely flip that around and let's go in with confidence. What would a private lender, somebody with money, let's just say me, you, anybody, let's say they had $100,000 sitting in a savings account and they would be willing to loan it to do what? What's the point of loaning your money out? To make more money, right? So let's think, what is this person who has money, private money, that could lend it on our deals? What would they be after? Why would they loan it? They're sitting on money in a savings account, making less than 1% interest, right? It's making them nothing to just sit it in the bank. So they're probably thinking at some point or other, how could I make a bigger interest return on my money? But they don't know what to do with it. And the world says, put it in the stock market or flip real estate. And they're like, well, I don't know jack about either. So what do I do with it? So here's a simple line that I use when I was talking to everybody in the beginning. I would say this. Hey, if you or anybody you know has money sitting in a savings account just making 1% interest or less, pathetic, and would be interested in like making an 8 to 10% return, I pay 8 to 10% interest on anybody who loans on one of my deals. So now, did I ask for a loan? If you or anybody you know has money sitting in a savings account making less than 1% interest and would be interested in making 8 to 10% interest, I pay 8 to 10% interest for anybody who loans on one of my deals. Did I just ask for a loan? No. Did I present an opportunity to make 8 to 10% interest on money that you have in savings that is making you nothing? Yes. We shifted the way we said it. Okay. I guarantee you, if that person has money in their bank, they're going to go, well, I might be interested in that. What do you mean you pay 8 to 10% interest? And then you get to go into, well, if somebody loans on one of the deals, so I flip houses or we wholesale and we close on the properties and we sell them on the back end, and I'll make a $5, $10, $20,000 profit quickly to wholesale them. Or if we flip them, there's potential of more money. But if somebody funds those deals, so essentially I borrow your money instead of from the bank, I pay the bank interest. Why wouldn't I pay you interest? So if you fund a deal, I'm willing to pay 8 to 10% interest on somebody that funds a deal. Whole different conversation, because now I'm presenting an opportunity to make an 8 to 10% interest return. That's completely different than, hey, I just got started in real estate and I'm trying to close these deals so that I can sell them, because I could make like $5, $10, $20,000 on a quick, just on a quick wholesale deal, where I close on it and then I sell it to a seller and I can make like $5, $10, $20,000. If you got the money and we'd be willing to fund it, like I'll split it with you. It sounds a little unsure. It sounds a little sporadic. The person doesn't know what a wholesale deal is. So you're speaking in Chinese. They don't need to know what it is either. They need to know what is their return on the money they give you. And then what guarantees it? Well, if you loan money on one of my deals, I pay an 8 to 10% interest. But then at the same time, it's just like if I get a mortgage on a property from a bank, the bank actually puts a lien against the property. So if I don't pay, then the bank can take the property, sell it, and get their money back. This is the same thing. Anybody who's willing to loan money on one of my deals, we pay an 8 to 10% interest. And then we actually, it's backed by the property, by the real estate. So at the closing, the title company will put a lien on the property so that if you loaned me money, you'd get 8 to 10%. And then if I didn't pay for some reason, you'd be able to just take the house back and sell it. So it's backed by real estate, just like a bank giving a mortgage. And if it's good enough for the banks to do it with a mortgage, they're getting the property and getting their money out of it. They seem to know what they're doing. So you see, how do we present somebody with an opportunity to make a 6%, 8%, 10%, whatever it is you want to pay on the deals, right? And this is a deep rabbit hole here. I'm not going to go into like how to structure that because I just don't have enough time. Here, I'm trying to teach you how to speak to the people. Okay? Understanding the people you're speaking to and what they're looking for. A private lender has money that's not making them any money. They want to make more money with it. Offer them an opportunity to make a higher interest than they can anywhere else, and they'll give you their money. Then they're going to be worried about security. What happens if you don't pay me? It's backed by a lien on the property. If for some reason something happens to me and I end up in a car crash and die tomorrow, you would actually get the property and be able to sell it and get your money back. And because we're buying it at a discount, it'll be easy to get your money back out of it. Now we're speaking to the private lender who wants to make more money with the money that's not making any money. And then they're worried about what if you don't pay. Speak to those two problems and people will give you their money. Sellers, find out what their problem is, what the pain points are, and speak to those. Help them solve that problem, and they will sell it to you over anybody else. I had, it was one of my first deals I got under contract. So remember, I got into wholesaling real estate 3 months before leaving the country to live in China for a year as a stay-at-home dad. During that first 3 months before we left, it was less than a month. It was a few weeks, 2 or 3 weeks before we left for China, I got a house under contract. Now, this house was sitting vacant for over 50 years. I mean, it'd been there forever. And I remember I lived in this town for 2.5 years before we went to China. So I'd been there for about 2.5 years, a little over. And for 2 years, I'd driven by this place multiple times. And I'm like, that's a cool old house. It just looks cool, But it's like, it's a shame that it's vacant. Didn't know anything about it. Didn't know how to do anything with it. And then 2.5 years, 2 years, 3 months into living in that town, I learned about wholesaling real estate. And I instantly thought, that cool old house that I've driven by for 2 years. I'm going to go try and get that house because I know it's vacant. And so I went and I like tracked down the owner's information through the city building, right? I went to the city building, I talked to planning and zoning, and I talked to all those people up there, and I tracked down who owned it. And I called that person, and they're like, I don't own it anymore. We gave it to my niece. She's a teacher. She lives in this town, but they gave me her first name, but they wouldn't give me her phone number or an email or anything to get a hold of her, because they're like, well, I'll give you her name because she owns it, but I'm not going to give you her information. I'm like, okay, fine. So I found her on Facebook, what I thought was her, and I started sending her messages in Messenger. For 2 months, I was sending her messages in Messenger every 2 or 3 days, and she never responded. It didn't even look like she checked my messages. And then 2 months of sending her messages, I get a phone call from her, and she goes, hey, this is Lacey. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Lacey. She goes, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I've been getting your messages. So I know you were like trying to buy the house on such and such. I'm the owner. I was like, oh, remember, I'm only like a month and a half into this. Like, I'd only just learned this. So the fact that I was able to like track somebody and go through Facebook Messenger and they reached out to me, I was like, oh, it works. Holy crap, it's still working. And this is like one of my first few deals, right? And so I get together with her, and she wants to bring her grandma to the property. Now, grandma, she talked to me for like an hour. They took me all through the house, and she was talking about how this house has been in the family for over 100 years. And she walked through and she told me stories about like her and her sisters growing up in this room and jumping off the bed and doing this. And I just listened to her tell stories. Now, remember, this place has been vacant for over 50 years. There's like homeless people breaking in and living in there. There's garbage everywhere. The walls are spray painted, and she's telling me stories of her childhood. And I just listened to her and I talked to her, and I was like, that's so cool. Like, that's fun. The fact that it's been around 100 years, like, that's really awesome. And um, when we were walking out, I was thinking, oh man, I'm only going to offer like 25,000 bucks. And she's been building this up for an hour, right? She's been talking about how amazing this property is to her. Like, there's no way she's going to take $25,000 for this property. But it was in rough shape. And when I'm talking to her and I make the offer, they're like, that's great, Aaron, that works. That's no problem. Like, let's do it. She's getting, Lacey's getting married, and like, this is just a perfect time. We just feel like it's such a godsend that you're here. Like, she's going to be able to fund her wedding, and it's just going to be great. We're just so thankful that we met you. And when we're signing the contract there at the house, because this was like my first few deals, right? I actually went to the property in my first few deals. We're signing the agreement. She goes, Aaron, I've had 4 people try to buy this house from me, and I wouldn't sell it to them. She got like a proud face on. She goes, and I wouldn't sell it to them. And so I put my arm around her and I go, well, why are you selling it to me then? She's like this little old lady. She was cool. I was like, well, why are you selling it to me then? And she goes, Aaron, I just like you. And I was like, oh, well, thanks. Like, that's awesome. And so then she started to tell me another story. She's like, I had one lady call me up and she was just all business. Seemed like she knew what she was doing, but I didn't like her. She was just rude, and she just seemed like, I don't know. I just didn't even want to talk to her. She's like, and then I called other people up, or the other people I talked to, they honestly didn't seem like they knew what they were doing. And I wanted them to take care of my house. Remember, it was vacant for 50 years. People were living in it, tearing it up for her. But she didn't want to sell it to somebody who she didn't think was going to take care of it. Right. And so I told her, I said, I don't know if I'll flip it or if I pass it on to somebody that will. I said, but my intention here is to get the house and to bring it back to its former glory, to where it looks more like all the stories that you've been telling me. Get it back into a house where a family can live in it again, instead of letting it just sit here vacant and fall apart. And she was just like, she loved the idea that I was going to take care of her family's house. And that got me that deal. Okay. You have to learn how to put yourself into their shoes. What's important to them? She didn't care how fast it closed. She didn't care if I could pay cash. She cared that somebody took care of her family's house that had been around their family for 100 years. So how do you put yourself in the mind of who you're talking to? Now, I said this works with your kids and everything, right? So before, and this is a fun example because my girls are 5 years old and 8 years old now. So this is fun. Neuroscience shows us that logic doesn't sit in to the brain until 7 years old. So before 7 years old, our minds are a sponge. We soak up, we learn everything. We operate in the imagination, creativity, and learning stages. And then after 7 years old, that's when logic starts to come in. So after 7 years old, or right around 7 years old, you'll start to have kids ask questions like, well, why? Whereas before it was like they just do something and they're asking questions to learn. But after 7, they're asking questions like, well, why? And you answer them, they're like, well, wouldn't it make more sense if we did this? Because they're starting to get some of their own logic in. So knowing who we're speaking to, if I'm speaking to a 5-year-old and I need them to hurry and get in the car so we can leave, by me telling them, hurry up, we're going to be late. They're like, I don't care. Logic means nothing to me. Why would I care if we're late? I don't understand what late means or why it matters if we're late. I haven't been programmed in my life to know that people are going to look down on me if I show up late. Why would I care if we're late? But if you look at that same 5-year-old and you go, wait, you stop them at the door and you go, okay, there are alligators in this hallway. And if we don't make a run for the car, we ain't going to make it. You ready? Are you ready? Like for real, because I ain't going out in this hallway unless we are beelining it to the car so that we don't get eaten by these alligators. They're like, yeah. And they bolt for the car. They run and jump in the car and you're in, you're gone, you're ready to go, right? They don't care about logic. They don't care about going to be late. Toss a simple creativity, imagination story, and their minds go crazy and they're actually seeing alligators in the hallway and they're thinking this is going to be a fun adventure. And then they run and do what you wanted them to do. Remember, the point is to get people to do what you want them to do. Okay, get what you want by helping them get what they want. Get what you want by helping them by thinking about what's going on in their minds and how you help them with it, how you solve their problem, right? Okay, so if I'm going to tell you fastest way to money, right? The fastest way to money to me is finding people that already have the deals. You find a buyer, you connect the dots. In the simplest forms, you've heard the word JV, joint venture, right? If you are starting with no money, you got to do this. You got to go straight to the people that have already talked to the sellers. They've already got the house under contract. They've already put their own earnest money out there. They already have the property under contract. Now you have a cash buyer. You find the people that are looking for that property, right? Let's oversimplify this. Find somebody with a deal. Find somebody looking for a deal. Connect them and take half the profits. Okay, that's fastest way to money, and it doesn't cost you a dime. So if we're going to do that process, if we're going to focus on wholesale and assignment, get a few cash buyers, and then we're going to find somebody with the deals and we're going to connect the dots, we need to know how to speak to cash buyers and how to talk to other investors with the deals. So how do we put ourselves into the mind of the other investors that have the deals? What are they thinking? Ask yourself, if you're a wholesaler and you get the house under contract direct to seller, what's the first thing you're thinking? Oh crap, now I got to get this thing sold, right? For those of you who haven't done a deal yet, that's the first thing that goes through your mind when you get a contract. You think, yes, I got it. It's signed. Oh crap. Now I have to sell this thing. And so if you find somebody else who has that feeling, then you're going to offer a solution by bringing a buyer. Hey, how about I help you get that sold in your window so that you don't have to back out? And they're like, yes, that'd be great. Let's do this thing. And they split money with you, right? Because you're speaking to the fact that they just thought, oh crap, now I got 30 days to close this and I don't really know what I'm doing, or I don't really have any buyers. And they still have to talk to the title company, the sellers. They still got to line up inspections and do due diligence. And if you're jumping in there, you can say, hey, how about I help you find a buyer? And if I find a buyer, we do a split and we call it good. They're going to be like, yes, that's one thing off my plate. Great, let's do this thing. And there are investors doing $250,000. Your gurus are all doing $250,000 or more just by doing this on top of everything else that they're doing. Okay. So I want you to focus. Yesterday, day one, how do we go wholesale assignment, period? Now, how do we do it with no money whatsoever? We go direct to somebody who already has the deal, and then we connect them to a buyer. The simplest form. Get rid of everything else from your mind and simplify down to one focus, one thing, and that's going to be your fastest way to money. We speak to the wholesaler knowing that if they have it under contract, they've put money out of their own pocket for earnest money. They've put their name on the dotted line saying they are responsible to close that property per the contract like they said they would. They're the ones that have all the stress of having to get that property sold within 30 days. And now they are stressed. How do I sell this in 30 days and make some money? And that's where we step in and we help. Okay. You're talking to a cash buyer. How do we keep them from going around us? We'll actually get to know them. Right? I like to tell people, like, anybody you do business with, look at it as, what would you do if you were dating this person looking towards getting married? If you start treating your relationships that way, then all of your relationships will grow and get better. Because when you're dating somebody and you're looking towards getting married, what do? You find out what they like to do, what their interests are. You find out what their goals in life are. Hey, where do you want to live? Did you go to college? Like, do you have any kids? Do you want to have any kids? Like, you're trying to kind of figure out what they like to do, right? What are your hobbies? What are your passions? What are your talents? And then you find out they like to do stuff and you're like, oh, I'm going to take them to go do that so that they can have a good weekend together and it'll make us closer and it'll bond us, right? How do you have that kind of interest in a cash buyer or a wholesaler or a seller or a private lender? Because if you have that kind of a relationship where you're talking to your cash buyers and you find out, like, what kind of stuff do they like to do? And they're like, oh man, I love like archery. Like, that's so cool. And you send them a $100 gift certificate to the archery store in their local town for Christmas, they're going to really like you, right? And so if you sent them a deal and they get the deal from somebody else, don't you think that if you are on a relationship where you've, like, you know that they hunt and you spend time hunting with them, or you know that they love basketball and you sent them game tickets, or you send them texts on the weekends that's like, oh, did you see that game? And you have a relationship like that, and then the other person that sends them the same deal has no relationship, they just sent them a deal for sale, who do you think they're going to want to buy it from? It's the same deal coming from you who has a relationship, talks sports, talks passions with them, and sends them deals where they can make money, and then somebody else that they don't know that just sends them a deal. Well, anytime you just send somebody something for sale, I know it's kind of accepted in the real estate, but it still is kind of spammy and scammy, right? If I just get an email and it's just something for sale, I don't care what it is. If it's like, I don't know you and you just send me an email with something for sale, even if it's a good deal, the first thing through my mind is, who is this person? Are they legit? Like, or are they somebody who's peddling me somebody else's house off of Zillow? Because that crap's going on right now. So what I'm saying is, like, if you need cash buyers and you're afraid of them going around you, it's because you don't have a good relationship with them. There are people in my program. Well, you'll talk to Ann at some point or other in this challenge. She'll make a guest appearance and give us some of her knowledge that she's gained. She's about to join the 100K club. But Ann's got 3 kids. She does it from home and everything else. She spends time with her family and she's running things the way she wants to. And anybody else could talk to her about coaching or about buying anything. If they are anywhere around my world of anything that I do, she's not buying anything from them. She's coming straight to me and she's gonna be like, Aaron, so-and-so's doing this, because we're tight. Like, we've known each other for a while. She trusts me. We've made money together. I've helped her make a lot of money, right? Like, we have done things together to where now if anybody comes in with anything else, even if it was cheaper, she would come to me and she would probably tell me about it and then want to get it from me. And you could ask her if you want yourself. That's fine. Because we have a relationship that way where she knows, likes, and trusts me. If you create relationships with your buyers, with your private lenders, with your JV partners, with your sellers, like, create a relationship like you're moving towards trying to marry this person. I guarantee you, you will know that person better than anybody else, and you'll actually care about solving their problems. The reason Anne would buy from me over anybody else is because I'm not looking to make a quick buck, and she knows that. It's the same reason that I'm giving this challenge away for 5 days, and I don't pitch you. I don't even tell you until the very end, if you're interested in working with me, what that looks like. Because I'm not here for a quick buck. She knows that. And so she's like, hey, Aaron could charge more, and I know it's legit, and I know I'll get a return. But you're charging less, and I don't know you, and I don't really know what I'm going to get from you. And there's a standoff, right? There's I got to protect myself. If you guys are brand new getting started and you haven't talked to a lot of people, or you haven't done deals, you haven't worked things, you haven't like got it up and going, you're still trying to figure it out, this is the most important thing you can take from this whole weekend is you have to learn how to become trustworthy friends with everybody that you're doing business with. My first coach, I went to that free 2-hour seminar, remember, where I've heard about wholesaling for the first time ever. I jumped up, I went to the back of the room, I swiped $2,000 on a credit card that I didn't have. And then 3 days late, a week later, I went to that 3-day weekend for the $2,000, and I blocked out everything but wholesaling. I came home and I paid $9,000 for a coach. And that was how I got started. My first coach told me, he said, if you make sure that everybody around you makes money, this job will get easier and easier and easier for you. And so I kept that in mind. And that's exactly what I did. I said, how do I help every person I talk to make money? Because what happens is if I help you make money, then I, in turn, end up making money. It's crazy, but it keeps working. And it's been that way since day one. So let me put this same perspective into realtors, okay? Because I used realtors my first year. So from China, I ended up with 3 real estate agents that were willing to work with me this way. And I had 3 cash buyers, and that's all I had. And I did 12 deals that first year with those people. So 6 people total. With a realtor, how do we put ourselves into the mind of the realtor to see so that we can speak to them in a way that makes them want to bring us their deals? Okay. My first year, where a lot of you are brand new to it, I was living in a town, right, for 2 years and 3 months before I started real estate. I was not from that town. In this town, it was Tupelo, Mississippi. It was a 35,000 person town, 60,000 during the day because people just came into town for work from all these little towns. But it's an old Southern money town. People in town have a lot of money. A lot of people in town have rentals. Like a lot of people in town have rentals. And here I am, the new guy in town. I'm not from there, so I don't have family history there. I didn't have any money. I was literally running like a manager of a run bike swim store, a triathlon running store, right? And I started doing real estate. And I get these real estate investors willing to bring me deals, pocket listings, before they ever even list them on the MLS. And after I got a couple of them, I thought, man, this is so cool. Why do they bring me the deals, though, over taking them to people that are buying, like, that already have 50 rentals in town? Why wouldn't they take it to them and like know that it's done and they're going to get their cash out of it because they know the family, they know that person has money, that person already has 50 properties. Like, why wouldn't they take this deal to them? I'm the new guy. I've been here 2 years, no family here. I have no money. I have no other deals, like literally just getting started. Why are they bringing me the pocket listings? And I was getting them under contract before they ever even hit the market. Why? It's because I was talking to them like, hey, I'm moving to China in 3 months. I'm trying to find people that I can do multiple deals with over and over and over. So I'm saying, I want you to make multiple commissions from me, right? And then I said, hey, if you have any pocket listings or anybody who needs to sell like a house that needs a bunch of work, or they got to sell it fast, or like they're stuck in a problem and they need to move it quick and it needs work and stuff, I would love to put an offer in. And if you send me those deals, I'll give you an offer within 20 minutes. And on all of them, I can close in 30 days. I can give you $500 earnest money, and like I'll close it. If I can't get it sold, I'll close it. And at that time, I had 3 lenders, and one person know, like, and trust me so well, he was willing to take money out of a line of credit for the business that he owned. And so I knew I had money I could close. And then he took me down and introduced me to the vice president of a bank and said, whatever Aaron doesn't take care of, I'll take care of. Just give him some money to work with. And they gave me a $250,000 credit line. And I was like, holy crap. And all that came from one person who knew me, liked me, and trusted me. Okay, so I had basically about $250,000 or about $500,000 to work with. And like 3 months in, before even 3 months in, to my real estate investing career, because of looking at relationships like this. How do I talk to people and bring value to them? So then the realtor, I would say, I'll give you an offer quickly. I'll get it under contract and I'll close it if I can't get it sold. And so they were like, okay. And so they tried it with me. And so I did just that. I would get them an offer in 15 minutes. They would make the offer. We'd end up going back and forth. I'd get it under contract. We'd sign the contract. And then they would list the house immediately as pending. Now, if I put myself into the mind of the realtor, the real estate agent, they're looking for the high volume of houses sold. Okay. Real estate agents are ranked in their state and their market and stuff like that. And their rank is figured by the amount of volume that they do. So how many houses did they sell? What was the total amount of value, money sold, did they sell? And how fast did they sell it? What was their time on market? So if you guys go to like Zillow or something, you look up top real estate agents, it's going to give you an average, most likely, of average time on market if you list with this real estate agent. And the smaller the average time on market means that if I'm just a seller and I look up real estate agents and it's like average time on market is 2 days, I'm going to want that person to sell my house because I want to sell my house. I'm not putting my house up on the market to just deal with it for the next 6 months. I'm putting it up to sell it. So they know if they can sell them quick, list them as pending quick, then that raises their numbers and bumps them up in the state, in their ranking, right? So if I get it under contract before it ever even gets listed, they get to immediately list it as pending. That immediately tells the marketplace that they were able to sell it before, like, the same day they listed it. And so their ranking in the state goes up. So all I have to do is do what I say I would do. Give them an offer within 20 minutes. Get it under contract with them over the next hour or two, right? Back and forth, and like make it happen. And then they get it under contract. Now, don't go through and renegotiate a bunch of stuff and make it hard and struggle. Make it super simple. Great. Well, I said I would do that. I'll start the title company working on it, and then we'll get moving. And if I couldn't wholesale or sign the paper off, I closed it. And so the real estate agents thought, if I send this to Aaron, I can have this under contract in like an hour. And then I can list it as pending, and it'll show that I'm doing multiple deals, or I'm doing my deals faster and selling them like 1 day on market. And so it works for the real estate agent, right? Because they're getting multiple commissions from one person, me. I'm making it quick and easy to get under contract. And then their time on market is like shrinking, because the more deals I move faster like that, the better it shows for them, right? It lowers their average time on market. So if we can learn to put ourselves into the mind of who we're speaking to, then that will allow us to speak to them in a way that makes them want to bring, if they're a real estate agent, makes them want to bring me deals. If they're a cash buyer, it makes them want to buy from me, not from the other wholesaler. If they're the other wholesaler, they don't want to just JV and partner with anybody. They want to partner with somebody they trust that has good buyers that they know can help them move the property. They're going to be more willing to do that, right? If I'm a JV person and I get them under contract and I'm willing to JV with somebody that has buyers, I'm instantly going to think of and text whoever I talk to the most first, right? If I have a deal up in Iowa, I'm calling Ann, period. I know there's other investors up there. I know I can find my own buyers up there, but because she's in my world and I know, like, and trust her, I'm going to call her and I'm going to make money with her. It's going to be the same way with you on anything that you're doing. You want to make money with something, build relationships in that. Okay. And this is your fastest way with no money. This takes no marketing expense. You don't have to have fancy CRMs or software. You pull out your stinking cell phone and you send somebody a text message. You give them a call. You build a relationship with them as though you were trying to date them and move towards marriage. Get to know that person. Spend time talking to that person, texting that person about hobbies, kids, life, happy Memorial Day, business, all together. You'll start to build relationships that make money together. And this is your fastest way to money. Now, building off of yesterday, is this valuable? If you think of yesterday, you picked what's your primary focus? What do you do? And who do you do it for, right? Your elevator pitch. So think about that same conversation we had yesterday about who you're doing it for. Now, take what you've learned from today. Is this helpful? When you're thinking about yesterday, I decided I wholesale properties to fix and flip people. And now everything we've talked about, do you think it changes your situation, the way you talk to that fix and flipper in the elevator, the way you actually would get to know them, what your next steps would be? Because if you think of this, this will dictate your actions. It will dictate your follow-up in a way that is more sustainable. Because instead of thinking, how do I build an automation in a CRM that costs me hundreds of dollars so that I can follow up with somebody? It's like, oh, hey, I should text Aaron because it's been a couple of days. It's the weekend. His daughter said they had a ball game over the weekend. It's Monday. I'm going to see how that was going. And you shoot him a text message. And it's like, hey, how'd your daughter do? Did she win the game? And that's a follow-up message to a cash buyer so that you're getting to know them better. If you think of it as a relationship, you actually would be interested in following up with them. So your follow-up will become easier and more natural. And then when there's a deal on the table, the deal goes faster because you already trust each other. It's not trying to figure out if I trust you or if you're a spammer or a scammer. It's like, oh yeah, it's a family friend. Oh, you got a deal? Sweet, send it over. I'll look at the numbers. I'll let you know in a few minutes. And literally it goes faster like that. My first coach ever said, make sure everybody around you makes money and this will get easier. And it was ridiculous. Just the way that if you just help benefit other people, help people get what they want, and you will get what you want, and it will continue to compound. It will continue to grow. Okay. Was that awesome? Is this useful? Does it change the way you've looked at anything? If you had any epiphanies, if anything popped in your head and was like, whoa, I never thought about that way, put it in the comments. Let people know what you're thinking and what struck you so that they can apply it to where they're at too. Because I guarantee you, there's different people watching this. We all have our own ways of looking at things. And so there's always going to be different ways like, ooh, I saw it from this angle and I heard that. And somebody else is like, that is not what I saw at all. And you really learn from each other by fueling the ideas. That's why masterminds are so popular and so important to your growth, is because everybody throws out what's working, what they got out of it. And somebody else goes, ooh, I missed that. That's not what I heard at all. That's awesome. I love that. And they write it down. And remember, whatever you don't write down, you'll forget 85% of it within 48 hours. So putting it in the comments is like taking notes. You're inspiring and encouraging other people, and you're helping plan it in your mind so that you can remember it longer. Now, I am going to give you a quick offer making strategy to compound on what we talked about yesterday. And then we're going to wrap it up for today. And so an offer making strategy creates consistency, right? Yesterday, it was who am I speaking to and the 30-second elevator pitch, like how do I speak to them, right? Today, we went into depth of like how we speak to these people. How do you put yourself into their mind to get in there, right? And what that does is it creates more and more clarity. Because if you're speaking to one person, helping flippers find their next flip, and you're putting yourself into their mind, you're not putting yourself into the mind of everybody. It makes you more focused, less shiny object syndrome, because you're like, no, I do this for this person, and here's the problems they have. And so now I'm getting good at solving their problems. I've worked primarily with wholesalers for 4 years, and I was a wholesaler before that. So everything revolves around wholesaling. I can solve some wholesaler problems because it's where I've spent the last 5 years, is wholesaling and solving wholesaling problems. So I can speak to that and it works for me, right? And it's clear. Hey, Aaron, can you do this for my business? Like, yeah, what's your business? Like, yes, I can, but honestly, I'm not interested in it because I primarily help wholesalers hit their first 100K. Now, could I make money doing the same strategies for any business out there? Yes, absolutely. I have. I used to. I used to do every business. Anybody who had a business, I'd one-on-one coach and I'd help you build systems in it. But what happens was every single time I talked to somebody with a business, I was starting from scratch. Okay, let me learn your business. What are your problems and struggles? And there's this long process of getting to know them, going through everything. If I keep working wholesalers and I block out everybody else, say, how do I help wholesalers get to their first 100K? Now, once I kind of master the problems, because everybody has the same 3 to 5 problems, once I kind of master how to solve those problems, now I can take it and I can say, I have some time on my hands. How could I make it better for wholesalers to get to their first 100K? Ooh, I've been talking about doing this. What if I did it like this? And I'm compounding and progressing farther and farther on like, we could do this and that would actually help wholesalers like crazy. But if I'm not focused on that and I'm doing everything, then my mind's like, well, what about this? Well, what about this? Well, what about this? Ooh, shiny new toy, shiny new toy. But once you get super clear, it's like, okay, I got one thing I'm working on for one person and I know that person like the back of my hand. So now when you know your business that way, it's going to allow you to show up every day and not be distracted. It's going to allow you to show up every day and solve the problems that are important, not waste time consuming learning a bunch of new stuff that you don't need. Understand? You see how it's coming together? Okay, so this is the next step to that. If we are making offers direct to seller, I'm going to give you an example of that right now as what an offer making strategy would be. And then I'm going to tell you what it looks like doing it the way I'm telling you to do it, going to other investors. Okay, so let me pull up this screen. I'm going to share this with you real quick. There we go. All right. There. Okay, so this is an example of an offer making strategy. Now, this is what we were doing when our primary strategy was, okay, so I want you to hear my primary strategy. What we were doing at this time was we were calling for sale by owners, going direct to seller, and the only thing we were doing was acquire cash flowing properties with seller financing. Okay, that's what we were after. So we were figuring out how do we do seller financing, take over their mortgages, how do we lease option it, basically sandwich lease options, right? The in-depth process that I told you I ignored my first year. So this is an example. Everybody would get on the phone. You would go straight to terms, right? I would say, okay, let me step back for a second. This was not my formula for that. This has a lot of the seller financing in it that would stem off of cash offer. So if you are a wholesaler or a flipper where you're going to buy it and you want to get it with a cash offer, this is an example of what that might look like for your offers. So you might say, hey, I'm a wholesaler. I'm looking to get a cash offers accepted direct to seller, period. That's what I do. But you make your cash offer when you talk to a seller, right? So we talk to a seller, we make your cash offer, and you follow up on it. You follow up on it. You follow up on it. You find their pain points. You talk to them. You really want to try and sell this cash offer and get it for a cash price. But let's say they just go, Aaron, I'm not interested at all. Like I will not sell it that low, period. So now what? How do you stay focused in your business of being a wholesaler making cash offers, but now they're not interested at all in a cash offer? What do you do? So now is where the offer making strategy comes in place, because an offer making strategy allows you to say, I'm a wholesaler. I make cash offers, period. That's what I do. And so I'm going to make cash offers, follow up on them, follow up on them, follow up on them. But if somebody's just like, absolutely not, Aaron, it doesn't work. We don't want to just throw the leads to the curb, right? So an offer making strategy says, when I make my primary offer, my cash offer, and I follow up and it's just like dead, it's just not working, then what do I do next? This is a step-by-step system of the way you do business, right? So every time you do business, it's going to be the same. They don't accept my offer. They're not interested. That's fine. Hey, if I was able to come up to your asking price, could you be flexible on the terms? That's a Pace Morby line. I'll give him credit. That was a good one. Pace Morby's like your sub 2 expert. Remember, I am not your REI guru. I'm a systems guy. Pace Morby's got an amazing line. I love it. I use it. I'm like, tell people to use it. Offer cash. When they say no, you say, hey, if I was able to come up to your asking price, could you be flexible with me on the terms? And I've transitioned now from a cash offer into a terms offer, taking over their mortgage, XYZ. As you can see here on the number 2, if I can't get a cash offer accepted as a wholesaler, then I transition to, hey, if I could come up to your asking price, would you be flexible with me on the terms? And everybody's going to be like, well, what do you mean by the terms? Oh, well, we can actually take over your mortgage, do seller finance, essentially like this is a rabbit hole I don't want to lead you down right now for like learning seller finance. I want you to get the concept. We switch here and we say, we want to do a seller finance where we take over the mortgage. We get a 30-year loan, less than 3% interest with zero money down, direct to seller. And if we can't get that and they're not interested because they're like, Aaron, I'm not waiting 30 years for my money, period. Like, I'm just not. I'm not willing to wait that long. I would be willing to be flexible with you and work the terms, but I'm not willing to wait 30 years. So then we transition to number 3. Well, what if we do a lease option, right? Where we do rent payments, essentially lease for 3 to 5 years, and then we can cash it out, right? We have the option to buy it at the end of the 3 to 5 years. So instead of waiting 30 years, they're only going to wait 3 to 5. And during that time, we're selling it to somebody else on the backside, sandwich lease option, making some money in cash flow. If that doesn't work for them and there's nothing they want to do with us, then it's simply hey, have you thought about listing this thing? And you have somebody you've already talked to, real estate agents that you've made relationships with, that you refer this person off to, you make an introduction to, and the agent themselves will give you a referral fee for sending this person over if they get the listing. And so what happens is now every single seller or person you talk to, you're able to follow your offer making strategy. Everybody we talk to, we give them a cash offer. We follow up. That's what we want. Our primary focus is finding discount properties for cash buyers. If they absolutely won't do it, we transition. We try to get seller financing for 30 years. If they're like not having it, not going to wait 30 years, we try to get a lease option. If we can't get it at all, then we just move it off. We just pass them off to a real estate agent and we try to get a referral fee. This is an example of an offer making strategy for a wholesaler going direct to seller and what you might do to it afterwards. If you're a wholesaler just getting started, you don't know all the creative finance, I'm going to tell you, don't go down that rabbit hole. I'm going to tell you, create an offer making strategy is like we make cash offers. And if we can't get it under cash offer, have 2 or 3 real estate agents that are willing to pay you a referral fee and refer them off to a real estate agent. Or find another investor who does creative finance and work a relationship with them to where you go cash offer. And if you can't get it, then you introduce them to your partner that does creative finance and you let them try to get it under creative finance. And if they can't, then it goes to a real estate agent. Whatever process you put in place is a process you need to write down. Number 1, cash offer. Number 2, we transition to seller financing 30 years. Number 3, we'll drop to a lease option. Number 4, we refer it off. Remember my first year from China, I had to wholesale and assign everything. I was like, that's my focus, period. Cash offers, wholesale and assign it. If I can't get it, if I couldn't get it under cash offer, I would refer them off to one of the real estate agents. I was like, hey, if I can't get it, then, hey, I've got a friend that can list it for you. They can actually help you just put it up on the market, get it moved. They'll handle the listing and all that stuff. And it was the same agents that would be willing to put offers in for me, right? So I'm working with them, backside, front side, everything, right? Helping make money together. And so that relationship got to build and compound. And then my exit strategies were, right, if I couldn't get it assigned and sold to paper in 30 days, then I would close on it. And if I closed on it, I would list it on the MLS for 30 days. If there's no interest whatsoever, then I would start flipping it. I'd put a renter in it, or I'd sell it on the open market after that.
I had like an exit strategy, exactly how I was going to do it step by step, from like, what happens if this happens, I'm going to do this. If this happens, I'm going to do this. These are systems in place that create consistency and squash the shiny object. There's no reason for me to entertain a 100-unit apartment building if this is what I do, until I have a bunch of money in my bank account. And this is second nature and easy, like brushing my teeth, making offers, closing deals, got money in the bank. It's consistent. The system's working. Now I might think about a 100-unit apartment building because I know what I'm doing. It's working well. It's up and running. There is a place and a time for everything. Quit trying to make $1 million on day one. Try to replace your income consistently. Try to double your income consistently. If you're only making $3,000 to $5,000 a month, try to make $3,000 to $5,000 a month wholesaling. Like, start there. Then make your next step to double it or go to 10K. I like the 10K mark. Like, people are making $3,000 to $6,000 a month. It's like, replace your income, make it consistent, and then make your next goal 10K a month consistent. 10K a month is $120,000 a year. I have the 100K club. I push and I drive people to, like, how do you get to your first 100K? Because if we put rhythms in place, systems in place to where you know what you're doing and how you're doing it, and you work it to that first 100K, most people have replaced their income and they're doing really well. I think it's $8,400 a month is your first 100K. So would $8,400 a month be beneficial to you? Is it better than what you're making at your full-time job? Make that your goal then. Make your goal your first 100K. How do we go to people that already have the deals and build relationships like we're trying to get married? How do we, without the physical contact, leave that stuff out? Those of you who are dirty, stop it. How do you build a relationship where you know, like, and trust each other, and you know each other's habits, and you know each other's stuff that you're interested in, and your hobbies, and what your kids are doing, and everything else, right? How do you get to know that person? And then do the same thing with your cash buyers. And how do you bring them together and make money with them? Focus on that. Make this your primary aim in life when it comes to your business, building your business this way. Now, talking to these people and finding people that you like to work with that are driven like you to do like you and make some money like you in this industry, you'll find out that working with people and making money together is easy. It's natural. Everybody's trying to make money. That's why they get up and go to work every day. So if somebody starts giving you crap about what you're doing is not right, then you know what? They're not the right person. Move on. Just like if you were dating somebody and they start talking crappy to you and everything else, you'd just not date them again. You'd move on and go find somebody else, right? Don't chase the wrong people. Get the relationships working with the right people. And when you are clear on what you're doing, why you're doing it, how you're doing it, and then you go after the people and you learn how to solve the problems in their heads of those people, they're good relationships across the board. Business gets easier. Life gets easier. It gets more fun because it compounds. This stuff compounds and takes off. Okay. So today, homework for today. I want you to take what you did yesterday. I'm a wholesaler helping fix and flippers find their next flip property, right? If that's what you decided. Now, I want you to write down who are all the people that you're going to talk to in that deal. If you're a wholesaler, and see, I'm telling you, go to other wholesalers that have the deal under contract and work a partnership, work a JV to where you can bring a buyer to that deal. That's your fastest way to money with no marketing, no expenses. You don't need a website. You don't need any of that stuff. You take your Facebook profile, which I'm going to show you this week, and think tomorrow we're going to dig into your Facebook profile and show you how to set it up to where people automatically send you deals and how to interact to get that going so that you can get free leads coming in this way. Okay. But your homework, if you're doing it that way, who are you going to talk to in this deal? Other wholesalers, cash buyers. Now I want you to start thinking, make a list of what you think a cash buyer is going through in their head if they're going to work with you. What's another investor going through in their head if they're going to partner with you? Okay. I want you to think of the people involved. Now, for those of you who don't want to do it the way I'm suggesting and you want to go direct to seller, then you've got your sellers you're going to talk to. So write down sellers, write down cash buyers, write down banks and private lenders. Those are all people that you're going to have to deal with in doing it your way. So if you say, I'm a wholesaler, but I'm going to go direct to seller, and then I'm going to get them under contract and sell them. Okay. Well, you're going to need some money to close them, some earnest money, whatever. So you probably should line up some private money, some banks. So write that down, private lenders, bankers. You're going to go direct to sellers. So write down sellers. You're going to sell it to a cash buyer. Write down cash buyers. And then I want you to start making a list. What are the things in that person's head? So think cash buyers, cash buyers. What are they looking for? They're looking for a discounted property. What do they think is going to be, why wouldn't they do business with me? Right? It's because they're worried I'm a scammer or a spammer. Okay. Start making a list of the things that would be their fears. Like, what are they trying to accomplish? And what are they trying to avoid? Right? Like a bank is trying to lend you money. What are they trying to avoid? Lending it to the wrong person so they get a foreclosure and have to take the property back. Banks don't want the property. What's a private money after? They want to make a higher interest return than they can anywhere else. What are they worried about? You not paying. Okay. So start writing down everything you can think of that person might be thinking, good and bad, if they have an interaction with you. Start making lists underneath each one of the people that's in your deal. If you're somebody that's like, I'm going to be a fix and flipper, period. So I'm going direct to seller myself and I'm going to flip them all. So you've got sellers that you're going to talk to, and then banks and private money that you're going to line up the money. And then you're going to have contractors and realtors because you're going to be flipping properties and listing properties. So make a list of the people that will be involved in the business that you're choosing to do, and then start making a list of all the problems and concerns and goals, everything you can think of about that person. Start making lists underneath each one of their names. This is going to get you to start to know this person so that you can craft your messaging. So tomorrow, when we set up your Facebook profiles to bring in free leads, this is super important, because what we know how to speak to people and we plug it into our profile, the profile speaks for us. If you write a marketing ad direct to sellers, you got to speak to their needs for them to respond. If you run a marketing ad to even grow your Facebook group or get a buyer's list or anything, you have to know how to speak to them to get them to respond. Okay, so what we had first day, what are you doing? Who are you doing it for? How do you quickly and easily tell them? Today, who are the people involved in your deal? And then what are all their hopes and goals, dreams and wants and fears and struggles? Make a list under each one of them. Tomorrow, we're going to start plugging that information in to our profiles to build lead generation. Okay. And this will work for anything in the future too. So that's your homework for today. Thank you again for your time. We're going to wrap it up right now. We're about an hour and a half in. Thank you for hanging out and watching again. I know you guys have W-2s. I know some of you are sitting with your earphones in while you're at work and doing other things. So reminder again, you have access to the replays in this group just through Sunday. Monday, they disappear. At any point, you can upgrade your ticket to a VIP access pass, and that will get you some private Q&A sessions with me after each one of the lives, and it'll get you recordings forever. Okay. And the link will be right around right around today's training so that you can jump in and get that at any time. If not, though, you've got your homework. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you guys tomorrow.